weiß Bescheid. Entiendo.
Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you for everybody tuning in to Digipreneur FM. And it is your boy, Mr. Karan Rose, live and direct. How are you guys doing? How are you guys and gals doing on this beautiful Sunday morning? September the 5th, man, it's amazing to me how the time is just flying. Before you know it, we're going to be saying Merry Christmas. But no worries. I hope all of you are keeping good. I hope all of you are keeping safe. We know this is some very interesting times that we are in right now, but as long as you have life, as long as you are able to continue building the business and living the life that you guys are doing your best at creating, that's all that really matters right now. So today's episode is another edition of the Sunday Motivations. Now, I had taken 2 weeks off because truthfully, the past 2 Sundays, man, I woke up and, I had my son over. So, man, we slept in. I ain't gonna lie. We slept in. When we decided to wake up, we had our breakfast and we just hung out. And I felt like, what, those past 2 Sundays of just, not even thinking about creating content was needed. It was great, and I knew we were going to get back to it sooner or later. So this episode of Sunday Motivations is about mentors. So mentors, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because this is always a very touchy subject where, do you need mentors? Are mentors necessary? And I believe they are, but it's tricky because, well, you know what? As we get into it, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of my experience with mentors, and then I'm going to give you guys my top 6 mentors, the people that have really, really helped me that you guys can check out because they could possibly help you as well. And I'm kind of going to break down my perspective of mentors. So, story time. Now, when I first started out, I kept hearing that we needed to have mentors. And for me, growing up, I never really had people that I felt like I really looked up to. Like, yes, you have your parents, but you see the way people idolize some of the greatest athletes or just the greatest people on this world, and or they had somebody that was in their life that, was in a field or in a space that were, way ahead of them, and they kind of took them under their wing. I never really had that growing up, and I also never really idolized anybody. So I never idolized, my favorite athletes. I thought they were dope. I thought they were amazing. But to say that I idolized them, I wanted to be like them, I wanted to, recreate the things that they were, it was never for me. So I never really, felt like I needed to have mentors. I kind of would just learn and kind of look at people, but I never, put somebody on a pedestal and said, this is the person I want to be like. I've never really said those things in my, as I was growing up. And even to this day, not really. But you're starting this business journey, and you just keep hearing that you need to have mentors. It's a question that I get asked a lot, to this day, who are your mentors? Who are you modeling yourselves after? So mentors for, at the beginning, I had this strong belief of what it should look and feel like. I felt like it was going to be somebody that I would connect with. They would take me under their wing. I would shadow them. They would give me guidance through the process of building my business and through, just life advice, because life is filled with all of these perils, and they would help me navigate it. So I had this idea of what a mentor should look and feel like. And because I've never really come across that, again, I've never really felt like I had that mentor. Anywho, starting out, you hear all the business people talk about, get yourself some mentors because you can't do this thing on your own, right? So in the beginning, I reached out to a couple of people locally here in Trinidad. First was a man who owned a Digicel franchise that I met through a family friend, and I ain't gonna lie, we hit it off. He talked to me and treated me like one of his sons, and it was good to be in a new country and be talking to someone who had seemed like they had it all together. So they had their businesses, they had multiple businesses. He was well respected in the community, and again, like his vibe, his energy, very infectious, good people. I have nothing bad to say about him. I think to this day he's still a great person, right? And one thing I always admired about him is, again, just really infectious personality. This guy would talk to everybody, whether it's, other business owners, other respectable, politicians, other, just down to regular folk. Like he was just the same. I always give him that credit. Now, we had a really good relationship. I would always check him when I had opened up my store not too far away from him. I would always go and check him. I'd spend a good bit of time by him. Just being, it was just great to just be around him, soak up games, see how things work. And I'm still pretty new. I was only in Trinidad for about a year at the time. So it was really good to just, again, you're in a community, you're with somebody who kind of knows the runnings, knows the landscape. They're in a space, they're in a niche that you are in, right? I had a phone store. He has a whole Digicel franchise. So it was just, again, good to be around him and soak up some game. Where things became strained was, and just from a business perspective, right? Nothing personal, because, again, I have nothing bad to say about them. But where things became strained from a business sense was when I would start to share my plans and my ideas of what I wanted to do. And I would also give him ideas of some of the gaps I was seeing even within his own business, his own Digicel franchise store. I would share my ideas about, things that, what we are doing away in Canada, and what's happening in the States, and things that he could kind of incorporate here, right? Now, he would always give me the time of day. So he would always listen intently. And then once I was done, at that point, once I was done, he would begin to poke holes into what I was thinking. And he would ultimately tell me that, it wouldn't work, and he'd break down as to why it wouldn't work. And I think the one thing that always stuck out to me was that he always brought up that the culture in Trinidad and Tobago would never accept the types of things that I wanted to do. He was like, it's just not going to happen. Trinis don't like that. That's not what they do, that they don't care about those types of things. He was also one of the people that told me, actually, I think he was the first person that told me that, people in Trinidad aren't trying to read a tech blog, nor are they going to buy anything outside of Samsung and Apple products. So me investing in these different brands would not work, because when I had my store, I would never sell Apple or Samsung products. I was bringing in all of the other major brands. The OnePluses, the Asus, the Oppos, the Xiaomis, the ZTEs, like every other brand that is a top 10 brand, right? And even and look at that. In hindsight, in 2021, Samsung and Apple are not even the top brands. They are pushed down to fourth and fifth. And companies like Xiaomi, Huawei, Oppo, ZTE, these are companies that are, outselling Samsung and Apple. So, I mean, in hindsight, again, I was on the ball, right? So he told me that Trinis would never buy anything outside of Samsung and Apple, and, people aren't trying to read this tech blog. Now, thankfully, I never listened to that noise. And I kind of continued to do what I thought made sense to me. Again, I'm coming from Canada. I know how things work in Canada. I'm an astute, student of the smartphone industry across different markets. And I wasn't about to hear him tell me that, this wasn't going to work. So I never listened to him. I did what I thought made sense. And it really turned out to be a good thing, because if I had listened to him back in 2015 and I never started Droid Island, I never started my blog, you would not be hearing me talk to you in 2021. So you see how that kind of works, right? So, I mean, love him, respect him, loved what he did. He doesn't have the same businesses anymore. I think he's lost a lot of the stuff that he was doing from those times. But if I had listened to him, I wouldn't have found my own success, and I wouldn't have been able to express myself and test to see if what I felt the market needed here in the Caribbean. If I never did that for myself, then I'd be sitting back, thinking, well, what if? And because I did it, again, it helped me build my brand. It helped me build Droid Island, helped me build what I am doing today. Droid Island and what I was doing back in 2015 was the foundation for what I do today. Now, the second person I reached out to, ironically, was another big person in the retail telecom space here in Trinidad, and he is a millionaire, all right? Now, very popular guy. He was also one of the investors on Planting Seeds, right? So very popular guy, well known. He's a millionaire out here, multiple businesses. So again, I tried this thing again, right? So I decided to reach out to him. So I emailed him, and he graciously returned my emails. And I asked if, I told him that I love what he does. He has multiple businesses. I know he has one of the top Digicel franchises in the country. Love what he does. I would love, to shadow him. And, I asked straight up, are you looking, would you mentor me? Like, this is what I do. I'm a blogger. I'm a tech blogger, X, Y, and Z. He hit me back. He returned my emails, and he's like, you know what? He would love to meet. He'd love to connect. And he's like, yo, the idea of mentoring you, is great. Like, I love the idea. So you know what? He's like, I'm actually at the airport right now. I'm flying out. I'll be back in 2 days. Contact me on the third day, and let's meet up. All right? You come check me. Let's meet up. And I was ecstatic, because I'm like, yo, this is somebody who I know is doing some major things out here with his different businesses. It would be great to just, again, be in that environment, see how his mind works, see, how he has found his success, and just be in that kind of environment, right? So I waited for him to come back. I reached out once. No response. Reached out twice. No response. It's 2021, and he still has not returned a phone call or an email from me. So that was that. I never heard back from him after that. So listen, I was like, I can't say I was heartbroken, but I was like, yo, damn, like, this is, you're trying to do this mentor thing because, people keep saying that you need to have mentors. You need to have mentors. You can't do business by yourself. But, I'm 2 for 2, and it just wasn't working out, right? And then that's 2 really bad experiences, especially the first one, because like if I listened to him and his advice, I would not be where I'm at today. And the second person, I mean, if I waited around or it just wasn't going to work, so I just left that alone, right? For a long time, I looked for people that I felt could help me grow locally. And for perspective, I am someone who believed that people who have found their success in the old days can't help me today. I'm not even going to debate that. If you feel like, people who have made their millions, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago can help you, that's great. Personally, I don't. I prefer to, find people who have really found their success within the last couple of years in today's times, because I want to see, what they would have done. And I feel like they're more in touch with what is happening today. And I feel like they can help me and they're going to give me strategies, tools, or again, just being in their environment, I'll be able to see things that I could execute on right here, right now. If you made your money in the farming industry back 30, 40 years ago because you either bought land or land was gifted to you, and that's how you, I can't do none of that stuff, right? So I don't really look for people who have made their money, past a certain period of time. I kind of look for people that I can learn from in today's context, because ultimately I can do the things that they are talking about today. So what attracts me is that once I can see that you've made your name in these past couple of years, that attracts me. And that's what makes me want to follow you or reach out to you. That said, it wasn't until 2016 when my ex at the time introduced me to Gary Vaynerchuk. And thank God she did, because it finally felt like I found somebody who gave me exactly what I needed at that specific time. Let me tell you something. When I found Gary V, I binged on all of his content. Binged. I spent hours on YouTube watching his talks. From his YouTube talks, I then bought all of his books. Read all of them. One thing that really stood out to me is that Gary V said his goal is to get you to stop listening to him. And I thought that was so odd. Because Gary V says, those are the people who have had their Gary V fill and are now out and about taking on the world. And I really thought that was crazy. But 5 years later, I understand exactly what he meant. Because now I don't binge on Gary's content. I hardly listen to much of his content because his principles are the same. And I remember Gary V addressed that at one of his talks where, somebody asked a question and he is like, the person asked Gary, what do you say to the critics who say that every time they hear you speak, you say the exact same thing? And Gary V was like, well, duh, because I talk about the exact same things every single time. He's like, because at the root of it all, the principles are all the same, right? There might be different examples to support the principles, but he's like, I believe in some very simple things. And because people are not even doing the basics, my message is still the same, because I'm still not even seeing you guys do the basics. And the basics to Gary V are really simple. Create content. Well, the majority of you are not creating content, right? Ads are not content, right? But the majority of you are not creating content. So principles: create content, give value, be passionate, and have fun with what you are doing. At the core of every single Gary V talk, it's the same principles. different examples. Maybe a new piece of technology has come out, but he's telling you to do the exact same thing, right? Experiment, create content, and not just create content, but create loads of content that, you can repurpose and, take pieces and recreate it into something else. But again, that's all again, rooted in create content. Give value, be passionate, and have fun with what you are doing. You do that, you pretty much don't ever need to listen to Gary Vee again. Because it's every piece of content that he talks about, whether it's the books, whether it's the YouTube talks, it doesn't matter. It's all pretty much the same different thing. I mean, it's all pretty much the same thing, right? So now I look at Gary Vee more from a business perspective. And I like to study, how he's doing something more than listen to what he is actually saying. So, for example, I've seen that, Gary Vee has different, the pandemic hit and he started 3 different YouTube live shows. So we had Coffee and Commerce. Man, I forget the other 2, but he had like 3 different live shows that he did. And again, I was not really listening too much to what was being said. I was more looking at, okay, what program is he using? I see, I think the guy's name is Dylan. This guy that randomly pops in from time to time. I'm like, yo, who is that? And I realized, okay, he has a remote producer, and this Dylan character is the one that's remote producing his live shows. So how he has D-Rock doing all of his filming. D-Rock follows him around, captures all of the video content that Gary Vee puts out. His Dylan character is doing the remote producing for all 3 of his shows. So I was like, okay, remote producer. What program is he using? He's using StreamYard. So I'm looking at all those different nuances about Gary Vee and how he's doing it, how he's taking one form of long content and chopping it up into multiple pieces of content to get to that ridiculous number of, creating 100 pieces of content, right? I'm looking at all of those things as to how he's doing it, and that is what I follow Gary Vee more for now. I hardly listen to Gary Vee anymore, but he still has so much value to me in my life because he is the first person that experiments on any and everything. So there are many of you who, probably, don't listen to Gary Vee anymore, or you don't like the way he talks or his content or how he comes across. And that is all fine. Gary Vee could care less either, right? Who cares? But y'all should be paying attention to the how he is doing it. How Gary Vee is putting it all together. Because then you could take inspiration from that and figure out, what you guys could implement within your own business and try different things. So up to this morning, I think I saved a post from him simply because I was like, oh, wow, I like the way his graphic designer did this particular graphic. Let me go and jump on Fiverr and see who could execute a similar graphic like that because I like the way he put that together, right? So I will look at Gary Vee for those things now. Now, on to the rest of this episode. So I want to dive into my top 6 mentors because they all came to me after Gary Vee really shifted my way of thinking. And then at that point, the mentors I needed to guide me have been mentoring me from afar, and they began to appear with the right messages, the right content. The courses were coming, the books came, the podcast coming, and it just so happened that they all came at the right time. So 2015, 2016 were really pivotal years for me because in 2015, I had this conception of, what a mentor should look and feel like. I needed to reach out to somebody. They had to, meet me in person, take me under their wing, guide me in my business, guide me throughout life. And, that was how that mentor thing was supposed to look and feel. And I was looking for it. 2016, completely different. I get introduced to Gary Vee. I started to realize that, wait a minute, I don't need to have a mentor, in my space. I can have mentors from afar and I could follow them and kind of model the things that they are doing, and get perspectives from them, and then implement the things that they're talking about, things that they are doing into my own business and my own life. So here are my top 6 mentors. These are the people who all came to me in 2016, all of them, right? One after the other. And the things that they introduced into my life, when I kind of go through it, you guys will probably be able to see it, but everybody came in 2016 with the right things. And to this day, not only do I follow their content, but I follow more of how they are doing it. There are some people in this list where their content, as soon as they talk, I have a notepad out. And then others, I'm more watching, how they're doing it more so than the actual content. So let me get into it. So my top 6 mentors are, number 1, Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk is, to me, the person that really did he did the most to me. Mentally shifted the way I approach my business. He gave me that content first mindset, giving value, showing up consistently, outworking, everybody, and just being a content factory, pumping out content in all different shapes or forms. And he really showed me that if you do that, you would position yourself to be the leader in your space. And to this day, like I said, I focus more on how he does it, more so than what he says. Focus on how he does it. And to this day, I still follow him for that. The second mentor, I look at this name, and every time I see this name, listen, this is somebody where I'm like, man, I like to tell people about him, but I don't like to tell people about him, because this man is like my secret weapon. This is the man who, his approach and how he does things, I think, is genius. I think he is genius. Man, as you guys can see, I'm trying to hold out. I'm trying not to tell you about him. But the second mentor is a guy by the name of Daniel Priestley. Daniel mother effing Priestley. That man is a boss. He is a genius. I think the book that any and everybody who wants to succeed in the digital age, anybody who wants to succeed needs to read Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. He breaks down the 5 P's of building a digital brand, a digital business. And those 5 P's, man, I ain't even going to tell you those 5 P's. Y'all got to read the book for it. But what he did was, in Key Person of Influence, he gives you like the 5 components to build your brand, but also build a digital business. He gives you the mindset and the strategies. Most importantly, he gives you the strategies that you need to succeed in the digital age. Matter of fact, I'll take it one step further. The reason why I started the online web show last year called Digital Age was really an ode to Daniel Priestley, because in all of his books, he has like 6 books out. In all of his books, the focus is on navigating the digital age. So he had put me in such a frame of mind that everything that I thought was digital, right? And that is where the name Digital Age came from for the show, was really because of this series of books from Daniel Priestley and learning how to navigate the digital space. So Daniel talks about, building your profile, how to go about building the partnerships, the types of digital products and services that you need to build, building your platforms. You guys hear me talk about it. Daniel Pre talks and shows you and strategizes about building your platforms. He has a book called the Entrepreneurial Mindset. It's a whole book dedicated to shifting your mindset to be able to succeed in the digital age. He has a book called Oversubscribed, and Oversubscribed is all about how to get your business oversubscribed in the digital age. His book, 24 Assets, talks about all of the digital assets your business needs to be able to build and be able to either sell or get a proper valuation if you are an online business. He covers it all in all of his books, but the most important book for me is Key Person of Influence, because that is the foundation. If you don't have the 5 P's that Daniel Priestley talks about for a business in the digital age, then you're not going to succeed. You're not going to have a successful business, especially you're not going to have a successful business online. So check out Daniel Priestley. I will link to Key Person of Influence in the show notes and on the website, so you guys can go check that book out. I just think it's such a must to have. Again, I hate telling people about Daniel Priestley, but I love telling people about Daniel Priestley. I kind of keep him reserved for close people, but he is a must. He is a must. I think he has just figured out the digital age, and like I said to you before, the people that attract me or get my attention are the people who are showing me how to build now in these current times and are giving me tools and strategies that I could employ right now. If you made your millions years and years ago and you've entered 2021 as a multimillionaire, but again, you made your money, a decade plus ago, the things that you did to build your business at that different time, I can't do. That window is gone. That ship has sailed. So I can't listen to you. Right? We have a very popular businessman called Derek Chin in the Caribbean, and he is the owner of Movietown. To be honest, anytime I hear Derek Chin's name, I just kiss my teeth and keep it moving. Not because he's a bad guy, but I've never seen nothing he talks about that I could do. There's nothing of interest that he speaks about that I could do. And so I'm just not attracted. I don't even begin to listen to anything that he says, because everything he talks about are things that I cannot do. He talks about things from a place of he has the money to do it right now. And if you were to go back into his story and figure out how he made his money, you can't do those things now. So for me, for other people, they might still find value in that. For me, I keep it moving. There are tons of people who are successful today, in today's age, that have made their money today, that are talking about tools and strategies for you to do today. And again, we only have so much time in a day, right? Give me the people who can help me right now with what is happening in today's context, all right? Number 3 on the list of my top 6 mentors is Neil Patel. You guys, if you have been following me for a while, you know that I like to, fashion myself as an amateur SEO specialist. I'm a budding SEO specialist, and honestly, Neil Patel is a guy that I follow a lot. He's introduced me to the world of the technical marketing. So it's all about, organic traffic, SEO optimization, building your platforms, and doing so technically. So he shows me a lot of the technical aspects to marketing. And honestly, after listening to Neil Patel, man, it's hard for me to listen to anybody that speaks about marketing and branding that is not a technical marketer. Because you telling me about your brand colors and the different fonts to use, and your color scheme, man, F all that noise. F all of that noise. Because the technical marketing of the folks like Neil Patel, SEO Journal, Yoast, Rank Math, the technical marketers are going to eat all other marketers for breakfast. Because marketing today in 2021 is technical. It is technical. You have to know how all of the platforms work. You need to know how social media works. You need to know how your platforms work. You need to know how Google works. And you need to know that as a foundation. You need to know that as a foundation, especially for a business. Now, it's different for content creators who are just creating content, for shits and giggles, and they're just trying to entertain the people. And so they're going to do things, they're going to create their content, they're going to put it out, and something could go viral, right? And remember, you have no say in what goes viral. You don't know what's going to go viral. Planning for to be viral isn't a thing. You cannot plan to be viral. The people dictate whether you go viral or not, and you have no say in that, right? However, if you are, again, you're just somebody creating for the fun of it, then you don't necessarily need to know the technical side of marketing, right? Because you don't need to know, what the ROI is of what you are creating. You're not typically building a list. You probably don't have your own website or your own platforms. You're just creating content to put it on social media, and you're having fun. And if it blows up, it blows up. If it don't, it don't. But as a business owner, you have to show the ROI. You have to show how your content is generating leads. You have to show that the content you are creating has a purpose, that it is appealing to your ideal customers, and then driving sales and revenue and generating leads for your business. And so understanding the technicalities of marketing and how they are driving business, they're driving traffic back to your platforms to generate leads and sales is an absolute must. So that is why, guys like Neil Patel, SEO Journal, Yoast, Rank Math, all of their content with respects to the technicalities of marketing, are so big. They are so big. And guess what? Guess what we have a lack of in the entire Caribbean? We have more people that want to be Don Draper from Mad Men and try to create these over-the-top creative ads that nobody cares about. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And we have less of people who understand the technicalities of marketing. They don't know how the platforms work. They don't know how to, generate leads. They don't know how to capture leads. They don't know how to do digital market research to understand what people in their ideal industries want. They don't know what the desires of their industry wants or what their problems are and have the data to back it up. Furthermore, we don't even have businesses that use data in any of the business decisions that they are doing. They might have their own internal thing that they kind of glimpse over and make decisions on, but they don't know how to mine data from the search engines. And it makes it really difficult for marketing to do their job, which is why marketing in the Caribbean really isn't good. It really isn't good. Haven't worked with a company or a government institution or an enterprise in the Caribbean so far that really understands marketing. And the funny thing is that before you guys say, that's not true, listen, I've worked and talked to almost all of the biggest companies throughout the region, and each and every single one of them stress on the struggle of their marketing and the fact that they are outsourcing their marketing duties to agencies, and they do not feel like they are getting the proper return on investment. And then even working with most of the agencies don't even know what they're doing as well. And again, we have more people that think they're Don Draper and trying to create creative ads than understand marketing from a business perspective. And that's a shame. But anyways, Neil Patel is one of my mentors. Definitely go and check him out. He focuses so much on, again, mining data and the technicalities of marketing and building your platform and making sure your platforms are technically sound so that you can attract the ideal customer, you can mine data, build your organic reach, and capture all the data that you need for your business to be successful in the digital age. Neil Patel. Number 4, this guy, Chris Ducker. So Chris Ducker has a podcast called Youpreneur. He also has a book called Youpreneur. Now, Chris Ducker, the big thing Chris Ducker did for me was Chris Ducker showed me all of the components that building the brand of you, so building your personal brand, Chris Ducker shows you all of the components you need to build your personal brand and all the different ways that you could monetize your personal brand, how to build your platforms. And he shifted my mindset. A big thing he gave me was he showed me that in his book, you need to treat your personal brand like the parent company, and all of your businesses that you are involved in, treat those like a subdivision. Because what happens is that we get so caught up on trying to build like the actual business that when you become known for that one thing, and let's just say you have not been putting your face out there, you've been putting the logo out there, you've been using, other people, but nobody knows who you are in that business. If the day comes where you decide that you are no longer interested in that business, and because you have not been building your personal brand, you are now going to be pigeonholed in that brand. And people might know you for just that one thing, and it's going to be hard to shift out of it. However, if you are building your personal brand along with building the business brands, and your personal brand kind of showcases a lot of the things of the behind the scenes of you building these other brands, because people know you and believe in you and what you do, it makes it easier for them to support any of the ventures that you start in the future, right? Because they know you, they trust you. So whether, you started off, again, in the phone industry, and then a couple years later you decide, you know what, man, F phones. I want to get into, a pet store. I love animals. I want to get into a pet store. People trust you. People know you, they trust you. They're already going to engage with this new business because you've already built up that level of awareness about who you are and what you've been doing, and people could have, come along the journey and seen that shift into the pet store. And then, anybody who has pets, they're going to reach out. Or even if they don't have pets, just because people are following you and trust you, when their friends or family, are talking about pets, they're going to, tell them to go and they're going to tell them to go and check out your pet store because, again, they trust you and you've built up that name. So he gave me that shift as to treat your personal brand like your parent company, put that at the forefront, and all of your businesses, treat it like a kind of a subdivision of the brand of you. That way you're not pigeonholing yourself, and people know you, they trust you. And when you decide to launch a new business, you're already going to have an audience that you could tell people, hey, join me on this journey as I start this new venture. And again, people are they're gonna mess with it, right? Who do we got next? So we're on number 5. So the 5th mentor for me that really, really helped me, and again, these are guys that all came to me in 2016, is a guy by the name of Jay Jones. Now, he's not going to be as known as the other ones, but Jay Jones is the podcaster behind Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. And this man has given me the confidence and that permission slip to, be black and own a business, be a person of color and stand proud as that business owner. And on top of that, not just does he, speak about, again, empowering the black community worldwide, he empowers the black community by teaching e-commerce. So Jay Jones believes that e-commerce, because it's the lowest barrier to entry for passive income, he believes that anybody, it doesn't matter what your situation is, can get a start in e-commerce because the barrier to entry is so low. As long as you have a phone and you have internet, or you can go and borrow internet or sit in a coffee shop with free Wi-Fi. As long as you have a phone, e-commerce is within reach for you, and you can be able to make money online. And his platform is all about empowering the black community through e-commerce. So trust and believe. Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I could tell you that because Jay Jones is playing. He is playing for me every single Monday morning. Of everybody on this list, I can safely say that I don't miss a show from Jay Jones. And for so many reasons, because there could be an episode that just talks about, some of the issues that black entrepreneurs go through, especially in North America. And again, I'm from Canada, so I relate to all of the things that he's talking about. So when he starts to dive into those things give me perspective. They also give me, they also put a chip in my shoulder to just make me go hard, right? And then the bulk of his episodes, let's just say those episodes are like, 10 to 15% of the time. The other 90 to 85% of the time, he's talking about e-commerce. It's all e-commerce and digital business, digital services, and interviewing people who are building online businesses or building their profiles online. So everything is related to e-commerce, digital business. And he is somebody who all of his content is how to. So again, not only do I consume his content, I'm always looking at, how he constructs his content, how he constructs his business. He gives me probably the most, motivation and things to kind of work with than anybody on that list. Between, I think, him and Neil Patel, those two guys are constantly in my ear. The other guys gave me a lot of principles and foundations that I reference back to, but because I know what they're about, I don't need to consume all their content, but because I understand the foundations that they have kind of laid out for me. But Neil Patel, Jay Jones are always talking about current things that are happening right now, things how to leverage them, how to use them within your business right here, right now. So I follow those guys all the time and listen to all their content. Number 6, last on my list for top 6 mentors that have really helped me grow in my personal life and in my business life. Is the Mr. Shark himself, Damon John. Listen to me. Damon John, he started FUBU. If you guys don't know, Damon John is the guy that started FUBU. So to see him transition from, this clothing brand hip hop icon to, being on Shark Tank and, what he does now has been really great. Damon John was also one of the reasons why I started to watch Shark Tank, and Shark Tank, is such an amazing show to watch. And there's so much teachable moments and information that they give you on that show that it's one of the greatest shows that I've ever watched. And for me, now this might sound funny for you, and for those that know or understand, I think you can rock with it. Damon John does something big for me, and that is he shows me that you could be black, you can be yourself, and be accepted on any and every platform when you know your shit and can back it up because you've done this shit. And what I love about Damon John is listen to me, I love to see Damon John show up on stage in a hoodie, a fitted, and 2 big diamond earrings in his ears. I love to see it. When he's on Shark Tank, he's decked out. He's in the latest threads. When he's on Shark Tank, he's in a suit. He's sharp. And that's cool. That's never really been me, right? Being formal, being in a suit, being in a tux, like that's just never been me. But just to see Damon on stage in some jeans, some Timbs, a hoodie, a fitted, some diamond earrings. Every single time I see him take a stage, I'm like, oh, you can't talk to that man. How you going to tell him to take off that hoodie? He can't be on this stage in a hoodie and a fitted. You can't tell him nothing. You can't tell him that. Because that's Damon John. Damon John has been about that action since he started. He's done it. He's done it all. You can't dismiss him because of how he looks. He's black, on stage, hoodie, diamond earrings and fitted. Listen to me. That whole image to me just lets me know that I can be in a hoodie and fitted. I can do that. And I will be on any stage in a hoodie and fitted. But I need to work. I need to work, right? I got to put in that work. I got to put in that work to the point where nobody can question me. Putting that work to the point where, you know, you might be like, yo, why didn't he wear a shirt and tie to this event? Nah, because that's Rose. That's the guy that did that. You can't tell him how to dress. So he reminds me, he kind of gives me that, that I'm unfuckable vibe. You could be black, you could dress how you want, but be about your stuff. Be about it. Don't just talk it, but be about it. And build it. Build it, actually go out and do it. Don't just talk like you know what you're talking. Like you gotta have a track record. And when you have that track record, when you've done it, and people know that you've done it, and you are the man behind it, there's a swag that he has. Again, you just can't talk to that man. So Damon John does a lot of that for me. It's just a representation that, you can be black, have a business, make your money, be comfortable, dress how you want, and that is possible. So whenever I see Damon John on Shark Tank, and again, just seeing how his mind works, hearing him talk, hearing him put together things, like, dope, love it, right? I love the show Shark Tank altogether. But when I see Damon John speaking, and I just see him in a hoodie and Timbs and jeans and a fitted that does so much for me, because again, it just reminds me that, you can really be you out here. You could really be you, but make sure that you put in the work, make sure that you get your results, that you do this, that you're serious, and once you take care of that, they can't touch you. They can't talk to you. They can't. They could try, but they can't. So, folks, that is this week's Sunday Motivation episode. My top 6 mentors that have helped me throughout my business and my life from 2016. And I gave you guys a bit of the early story about my 2 mentors. But yeah, again, if I'm so glad to be at this point, because again, I really did believe that, mentors needed to look and feel a particular way. But you can have mentors that are not in the same country as you. You can have mentors that are in books, that are in podcasts, that are, that are speakers. You can get that from any and everywhere. So if you feel like you're in a position where you've been looking for mentors locally around you, but nobody resonates with you, that's okay. You can still have mentors that are from afar, and you just consume their work, binge on their work. You could possibly even reach out to them or reach out to their team, but you could do their courses and whatnot, and you could still get that mentorship from afar. So it might not be, hey, come over and, they hug you, put you under their wing, and, they walk you through everything, but you could still be mentored from afar. Don't forget that if you enjoyed this episode, greatly appreciated, please drop a review on any of the podcast platforms that you guys listen to this content on. Don't forget to rate the podcast. This helps the podcast grow. You guys can always check out the digipreneur.fm website to keep up to date on all the latest podcast episodes and events happening in the near future. And follow me on social media at Karen Rose at every single platform. You can Google me at Karen Rose, jump on IG, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Karen Rose at all of these platforms. So folks, that's it from me. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Sunday Motivations. Keep good, stay safe, and take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Karan Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Karan Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.